Day one began as we were all filled with optimism and excited about the challenge we were about to take on.
So we arrived on day one at our first campsite.
Our first night was very comfortable because it hadn't been raining and we hadn't walked that much that day, so we were setting ourselves in good stead for the next day, which was going to be a tough day of walking.
We were supposed to start off at a place called Gingerford Cross, but unfortunately our teacher had been issued with the wrong map, and we ended up being dropped off at a place called Black Cross, which wasn't very far off, and our assessor soon found us and we were soon back on track.
It was a good start, but let's get on with it.
We set off in a positive mood, ready to achieve our expedition aim, which was to search for moorland life and history in Dartmoor. We were looking for historic monuments and buildings or any moorland life such as horses and ponies.
We did manage to get some footage for our aim of 2 lambs and their mother quite early on in the walk. I think it was around the second checkpoint at Huntington Cross with a grid reference of 664, 662, which I think was very helpful towards our aim.
We generally stuck to the times on our route card very well. So we arrived at the dam in good time and tried looking for wildlife.
The first dam we went to, with a grid reference of 680, 653, we saw an lamb.
Meet Terry!
That had been left, or its mother had died. We did not know what had happened. It was very sad to see, and the lamb was very timid, but we couldn't do anything to help it, so we just had to leave it, which was really sad actually.
It was quite unfortunate because he had his head squished between some rocks. He was still alive at the time, but probably didn't survive for very long.
When we were at the dam, we met up with our assessor for the first time, and he told us that because it had been raining quite heavily the days before our expedition, we would have to take a detour of our route and change our route slightly because the place we were trying to cross the river we were trying to cross was too high.
Our original route involved reaching the road and taking the bridleway north, then sticking to it until reaching the river, which had the water level over the safe amount. This would take us to Dartmoor, where we would head west until reaching Huckerby Farm. Our backup route was slightly shorter than the original route and was to take the same route onto the bridleway, however head west slightly earlier, but this brought us to a weak ford crossing the same river which wasn't passable. The final route, and the one we took, was much longer than both other alternative routes, and involved continuing northwest on the road towards Hexworthy, past the Forest Inn, and then turn into another road leading to a stable bridge over the river and continue on to Huckerby Farm.
We passed Ash House and we looked at that as part of our expedition aim and the history behind it, and it was the setting for the film Warhorse, which we had seen, so it was useful.
A nice little house in Dartmoor where Warhorse film was filmed.
We arrived at our campsite, Huckerby Farm, about an hour late, and the team morale was a bit low, but we were an hour late because of our detour, not because we
were bad planning.
Yeah.
Arriving at the campsite, we were all delighted to sit back and relax after the small obstacle of putting up our tent and cooking. Within an hour, everything was set up for the night and we could finally go to sleep after a long and tiring day's work.
Yeah, we got through the night without being squished by a car or drowned in a river, so, didn't go too badly.
So, day 2, we set off at 8 o'clock, packed up our tent and had a nice porridge for breakfast.
Yum.
Our D&V training really came into play at the stepping stones, which was checkpoint 5, was 648, 737. This was when we had to unclip our bag and had to make sure that everyone was okay with crossing here. At first the teachers were quite worried because there had been some rain recently and they thought that it might have overflowed, but luckily it didn't.
This day we commonly saw cattle and trees. We could calculate the age of the trees from the circles on the stumps, and we made more notes on the fact that there must be birds and insects living in this habitat.